Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I'm Marie Beam, CEO of Discovery Museum. Welcome to the final event in the 2024 Discovery Museum Speaker Series, Does Parenting Need to Be This Hard? What Can Babies Teach Us? With Dr. Kevin Nugent of the Brazelton Institute at Boston Children's Hospital. Thank you for joining us for this important conversation. A quick bit of housekeeping before we start. Q&A will be open throughout the event. Please submit your questions anytime using the Q&A button, and we'll address as many as possible after the presentation. Please use the chat button for any technical questions for the webinar host. Closed captioning can be turned on and off at the bottom of your screen. And finally, thanks to Kevin for inviting us to record tonight's presentation. A link to the recording will be sent to all registrants once available, and we'll also send a resource list with any follow-up information referenced during the talk. I'm pleased to acknowledge our wonderful speaker series sponsors. Tonight's event is free thanks to the loyal support of Enterprise Bank and Sutherland Realty Group, along with the other generous sponsors shown here. Their support has made this 12th year of our speaker series possible. And thank you, too, to those of you who made a donation when you registered for tonight's event. We so appreciate your support. This year's speaker series theme has been Conversation, Understanding, Hope. We've chosen to host conversations on topics that can be challenging for families or for anyone really to navigate. Our goal is that with the guidance of informed and insightful speakers, we can all gain a better understanding of these issues, and through that, a more hopeful perspective on the future and on our ability to navigate it. We've hosted some valuable and timely conversations this year, and they and many of the last 5 years of Discovery Museum Speaker Series talks are available to all of you on our YouTube channel. Please check them out. We have so many loyal friends who join us for the speaker series, so you know that Discovery Museum invites kids and their families and caregivers into playful, STEM-rich learning experiences and welcomes them outside to explore in nature. Everything we do capitalizes on the natural creativity and curiosity that are in such abundance in early childhood. We are committed to sustainable operations and working toward carbon neutrality thanks to our on-site 326 kilowatt solar array, and to being an organization that advances equity in and through our own work. I am excited that soon we will be sharing with all of you our new strategic plan, which will deepen our impact and strengthen our organization over the next 3 years. And finally, I am excited and very proud to share or remind you that this year, Discovery Museum was selected for a 2024 National Medal for Museum Service. This annual award from the Institute of Museum and Library Services is the nation's highest honor for museums, awarded to institutions that make significant and exceptional contributions to their communities. We are so grateful for this recognition of our work and our impact, and it's the perfect platform on which to build a great future for our museum. We are honored to host Kevin for tonight's conversation. Let me introduce you, Kevin. Dr. J. Kevin Nugent was born and educated in Ireland and has worked at Boston Children's Hospital since 1978. He's the founder and director emeritus of the Brazelton Institute, and his research and teaching focuses on newborn behavior and early relationships. Dr. Nugent has authored or co-authored 10 books and has written 24 book chapters and over 100 scientific papers. He's been studying child development in different cultural settings across the world for over 40 years. He's also written a best-selling book for parents, Your Baby is Speaking to You, published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Kevin is Emeritus Professor of Child and Family Studies at the University of Massachusetts and has been a lecturer at Harvard Medical School since 1981. And I am happy and grateful to note that Kevin is a longstanding board member of the Discovery Museum. Thank you for that, Kevin. So welcome, Kevin, and thank you for being with us tonight for this very timely conversation. I note, and I'm sure that you'll remark on this evening as well, that the Surgeon General's advisory issued this summer on the mental health and well-being of parents highlights that Parents are experiencing unprecedented levels of stress, and we all know, we can presume even without the data, that the harmful effect on their children is immeasurable. So the report states that almost 70% of parents say they need more positive parenting strategies if only they had access to them. So rather than sending everyone to the internet, we felt that we would offer them you, a person who has extraordinary positivity and empathy and sensitivity and wisdom in your work. So thank you so much, and I will leave you to it. We look forward to learning from you. Oh, and Kevin, I think you're muted. We'll unmute you so that we can hear.
Well, thank you very much.
There you are. Wonderful, marvelous.
Now I can share my screen with you. Yes. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Marie, for inviting me. It's really a great honor, and thanks very much. And I want to thank Karen, of course, and Anne for all they did to make this possible. I feel very grateful. And to you who are attending, participants, I'm honored by your attending. At this stage of my life, anytime I'm with people who want to hear what I have to say, I feel deeply honored and moved by that. And it's the same tonight. I speak to you actually as a granddad and as a researcher, as a grandfather of both Enda and Shay, and of Dara and Sloan. And secondly, I speak as somebody who has tried to study children over the last over 40-something years, as Marie said, in the Boston Children's Hospital at the Child Development Unit and at the Brazelton Institute, trying to understand the mind and the heart of the young child. What really makes for optimal development? What are the things that hinder, make it difficult, make it challenging? And this has been really the core of my work over the years. In that time, I've been very lucky to be mentored by Barry Brazelton, whom you may not know, your parents may know, your grandparents may know, but I was just fortunate. He opened the door one day for me when I was a young graduate student here back from Ireland and invited me in. And I think on that very first day I met him, I knew nothing about anybody under 3. I assumed that children who were not verbal had very little to say. Compared to you, I knew nothing. But I had the chance to just be with him, to observe, to stay at his side. And to this day, I say I feel a great sense of privilege that parents have allowed me to stand at their side, looking at the baby, inviting me to be with them. And even this day, I feel butterflies in my stomach whenever I'm in that situation, because you never know what to expect. I may have seen thousands of children in my lifetime, but I've never met this child before. And all one can do is go with a sense of openness, sense of curiosity, a sense of ready to be surprised, and a sense of non-judgmental stance towards both the parent and the baby. And that's, I think, what Barry shared with me, a deep respect for babies, children, and their parents. And that's been enhanced by, as Marie said, my work in different cultures, a sense of cultural humility and realizing that I would know nothing that you know so much about your child. I just have some principles and I can stand by your side perhaps and try to understand more about that little child. Now, one of the big things that's happened since I've begun is the huge dramatic new interest in the effects of the brain on our lives and the life of the child. And the realization that the first few years of life, a period of rapid brain development, you've seen this diagram before, but it has lifelong implications for the child and for society, because during the first 3 years, and you can see here even the first few months, you've got the highest peak in those little tracks. But during the first 3 years, children's long-term capacity to think, to trust, to feel concern for others, to understand and construct ideas are being fundamentally shaped. But what we really want to come to the point is that the development of the child's architecture depends on the quality and reliability of the child's relationships with the important people in their lives, both within and outside the family. Let's look what my good colleague Jack Shonkoff how he puts it.
A child's experiences during the earliest years of life have a lasting impact on the architecture of the developing brain. Genes provide the basic blueprint, but experiences shape the process that determines whether a child's brain will provide a strong or weak foundation for all future learning, behavior, and health. During this important period of brain development, billions of brain cells called neurons send electrical signals to communicate with each other. These connections form circuits that become the basic foundation of brain architecture. Circuits and connections proliferate at a rapid pace and are reinforced through repeated use. Our experiences and environment dictate which circuits and connections get more use. Connections that are used more grow stronger and more permanent. Meanwhile, connections that are used less fade away through a normal process called pruning. Well-used circuits create lightning-fast pathways for neural signals to travel across regions of the brain. Simple circuits form first, providing a foundation for more complex circuits to build on later. Through this process, neurons form strong circuits and connections for emotions, motor skills, behavioral control, logic, language, and memory during the early critical period of development. With repeated use, these circuits become more efficient and connect to other areas of the brain more rapidly. While they originate in specific areas of the brain, the circuits are interconnected. You can't have one type of skill without the others to support it. Like building a house, everything is connected, and what comes first forms a foundation for all that comes later.
So, as they say there, young children need, above all, a secure relationship where they can feel safe, valued, loved, so can express their feelings and begin to explore the world. But, and that's really our topic today, many caregivers may be so stressed themselves that they're just unable to reach out to meet the child's needs in the way the child needs need to be met. And as Marie said, it was Dr. Vivek Berthy recently. He maintains that over the past 10 years, parents report feeling higher levels of stress than other adults. So there's something shifted within the last 10 years, a change in the whole stress level of new parents. I'd like to thank all of you who kindly filled out our questionnaire. I'm very, very grateful to you. In fact, 33 or 4 people filled them out, of whom 44 were moms, 3 dads, 4 grandmothers, 1 granddad, and 1 other caregiver, and 1 expectant mother. But comparing 2 surveys, one is the Pew Research Center survey, which is a national survey, which showed that the vast majority of parents in that survey said being a parent is enjoyable and rewarding all or most of the time. And that's what you share, both you who filled out the survey at the Discovery Museum and the Pew Center both felt that being a parent is enjoyable and rewarding all or most of the time. But in the Pew study, 62% said being a parent is harder than expected. And indeed, among you, 65% said being a parent is harder than they expected. So and I think we have to acknowledge it's not just how you feel. And this is what Dr. Murray points out. Parenting is more demanding today than it used to be, both for fathers and mothers. And that's what the research has supported this. But parents become endlessly conflicted about whether it's possible to successfully parent and maintain work at their jobs. And one parent in our survey said it was not at all difficult, but only one. Most others found it very difficult to balance parenting and work. Believe it or not, working mothers today spend as much time with their parents as stay-at-home mothers in the 1970s. Hard to believe, is it not? And they feel more pressure to be hands-on, to be so-called successful. And by significant margins, mothers are more likely than fathers to feel increasingly torn between their various roles beyond motherhood. Many parents and many of you are experiencing burnout. The sheer demands of working and parenting, being exhausted, and a sense then feedback of not being effective, perhaps. So parental stress and anxiety fall disproportionately on parents of colour. Here's what you wrote in our survey here at the museum. I feel burned out. Strongly agree. I can't, well, I just got the number. Yes. And 50% agree, 10% strongly agree. So, in other words, many people feel, you can see, burned out by the responsibilities. One person nobody strongly disagree, and even some disagrees. But by and large, people agree they feel a sense of being burned out. And there's also what I think people refer to as a loneliness epidemic among parents. Isolation, loneliness are stressing parents beyond breaking point. Parents feel they have no one to support them as parents. I think this picture says it all. The affection in both the mother's and the baby's eyes. Look at the eyebrows, the eyes, and the body language. Isolation and loneliness are stressing parents, as Dr. Murphy said, to breaking point. And this is all the more dramatic as a shift, because for most of human history, people grew up in large extended families with many children, and indeed in some cultures today. And most parents had extensive experience taking care of their children before they had children themselves. They had so many opportunities to watch other people, not just their own parents, but grandmothers, granddads, aunts, uncles, older cousins, all taking care of children. But today, people working from home in the suburbs make it difficult to meet other parents, to normalize their experience, so to speak, and haven't really access to that wider circles of kin. So that the traditional sources of wisdom, intergenerational wisdom and competence have largely disappeared. And paradoxically, social media can make people isolated because it fosters unrealistic comparisons with others, like in the top right-hand corner, almost the perfect parents, so to speak. But in these situations, where do parents turn for support? This is where you have said, and I found this really quite fascinating. 80% of you turn to your doctor or other medical professionals. 77% to other parents. To your own parents, 45%. Siblings, just 22%. Friends, 90%. Seem to be the most go-to people in your circle. Parenting website or blogs, 77%. Books and magazines, same, 51%. Social media, 38%. And other. So that the question I'm asking people in isolation, where do they look for guidance? And the fact is that many people go to social media and to get ideas and strategies to try. And there's so many parenting how-to books. I read recently there's 60,000 parenting how-to books on Amazon. And also there are parenting influencers. And there's an appeal there because they really can give us advice that we're really trying to get to see how we can look after our children. And we want to believe that there's some set of techniques, some kind of expertise we can acquire that would help us accomplish the goal of shaping our children's lives. But really, advice giving, prescriptive parenting, is fundamentally problematic from a scientific, philosophical, and political, as well as a personal one. In the 0 to 3 National Parent Survey, they found that 80% of parents use the internet and search engines to look for parenting advice. That seems to reflect, well, besides your friends, and indeed that the internet and the blogs seem to be a place where many parents seem to go for advice. But Look at the bottom bullet, and that's the important one. Less than 50% of them found the results to be trustworthy. And that's really the point. But before I sort of sound like I'm dismissing the web, the social media, sorry, I went too fast there. They're unlikely to give you the advice you need for your child. But online support groups often offer a compassionate and supportive space for parents. So we acknowledge that people, certainly often children with parents with a neurodivergent child, can often find themselves with a sense of support that's sympathetic and accepting. This can be really a home away from home for many people. Even as I said, it's unlikely to give you the advice you need for your child, but it can certainly give that kind of support. Now, here's the question. In the light of all these stresses, challenges, could it be that parents are overparenting? Could it be that parents believe that everything they do should be the right thing? That should be the perfect thing because they feel that making mistakes might leave its mark on the child. Perfectionists, and this is born from a real desire to do the best for the child, but perfectionists are more likely to overparent their children. They might find it hard to let go, allow their child to grow in age-appropriate autonomy when they need to. So could it be we're too intense in our interactions with children, people call overparenting? I'd like to suggest that good enough, maybe, or imperfect, is an alternative way to think about parenting. Being good enough means recognize that you cannot do everything. You cannot be everything to your child all the time. And some parents think that good enough, it's a phrase coined by the pediatrician and psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott, is not acceptable because it sounds like it's settling for something less perfect. But actually, the good enough parent believes that the best way for a child to learn coping skills is to help them thrive in a challenging world and give them the space to figure things out on their own. Very much the philosophy of the Discovery Museum, but giving them that psychological space to figure things out on their own. Good enough parenting or mindful underparenting. Could good enough be sufficient instead of closely supervised, meticulously curated child rearing that makes strenuous demands on a parent's time and energy? Look at the person on the phone here. A few years back, I was writing a textbook for college students, and I placed a picture of a dad on a phone as his parents were playing in the playground with the heading, an uninvolved, non-interactive parent, and assuming that he was missing out all the fun of being with this, having this quality time with his children. A few years later, I'm much more sympathetic to this man, much more because he, in fact, has an agenda. Maybe he's making an important telephone call. Maybe he's playing a game. Maybe he's but we have to trust that the two children behind, are capable of really taking their own play in hand, owning their own play, owning their own discoveries. So that clearly if the child is in trouble or needs guidance, we have to step in. If there's any danger, we swoop in to help. But nevertheless, mindful underparenting may mean sitting and letting the children take risks, discover things on their own. So in this, coming to the heart of my question today, or my talk today, we think of ourselves as the child's teacher. Is there any possibility that the child, even the baby, can be our teacher and can guide us towards less stressful and a more enjoyable parenting experience? If we want to raise empathetic, imaginative children who can figure out how to discover the richness of their environment, perhaps we should stand back a little more in order to learn from our children. So taking the long view offered by science and philosophy might be able to help. Our research suggests that the baby can teach us much of what we need to know as parents, since children influence the way their parents behave as much as parents influence their children. So I'd like to invite you to take a close look at the very young child in the first years as we search for answers. Although I have to say, making parenting more bearable is accepting that it's been always challenging and will continue to be so. This is where I began with Brazelton, and Barry was the one who first brought to our attention that the newborn is a person with their own individual personality, with their own goals, and even, if we may say, their own hopes and even dreams. Each infant has their own individual style of responding, or their own temperament, we might say. And we discovered, in this case, the infant's powerful gaze seemed to elicit an interchange with the caregiver, which helps the parent to realize the infant indeed is a fully responsive human being, a person with an individual personality. So we get to know our baby, as Barry said, by observing them, by listening to them, trying to understand their inner thoughts and needs, by learning to trust them. And here's the bottom line, really. The child is intrinsically motivated to survive and thrive. They need us, of course, to provide the setting. But the baby's responses to the world are both voluntary and selective from the very beginning. The newborn baby is already immediately sensitive to another person's emotions and expects to be able to interact with them, as has been demonstrated by our research. Babies have intentions, plans, hopes, and emotions. They can infer intentions and perceive what people are thinking. Now, I'd like you to ask you now, we're going to look at this 5-day-old baby, Maya. You will see her parents there, but I want you to think, what's in Maya's mind? What does she want to achieve? What does she want us to know about her? What does she want her parents to know about her? And what's she trying to teach her parents? Just take a look. This courtesy of my colleague, Beulah Warren, in Sydney, Australia.
Here's Maya at 5 days old. Even in a newborn, there are clear periods of intense concentration and social interaction. While brief, they occur many times throughout the day. Often the best time for interaction is around a feed. Here, Maya is not yet ready. She appears milk-drunk, sleepy and quiet. As she becomes more alert, she wants to interact, but her body needs to be still. She's too young to do it alone, so becomes distressed. Maya's mum comforts her with skin-to-skin contact. Maya's relaxed stillness communicates she's now content. With the support of loose wrapping and a hand under her head, Maya yawns. Yawns are often a sign of tiredness, but this time the yawn is a means of refocusing her attention. This lovely moment of mutual gaze is crucial for Maya's healthy brain development. Maintaining this focus is hard work. Maya gives herself little breaks by blinking and looking away. And even at 5 days of age, you may be rewarded with a smile.
What did you think of that little girl, Maya, at 5 days of age? Not only just the smile, the very seriousness of her demeanor, the way she was trying to figure out, understand what's happening here. Who is this person? Who can I recognize? Do I know this voice? Do I know this touch? Do I hear the sound of the mother's voice, the dad's voice? Let's take a look at it again. So you just take another look, again, asking ourselves, looking at the power
Here's
this
Maya
baby
at
brings
5 days
to the
old.
relationship.
Even in a newborn, there are clear periods of intense concentration and social interaction. While brief, they occur many times throughout the day. Often the best time for interaction is around a feed. Here, Maya is not yet ready. She appears milk-drunk, sleepy and quiet. As she becomes more alert, she wants to interact, but her body needs to be still. She's too young to do it alone, so becomes distressed. Maya's mum comforts her with skin-to-skin contact. Maya's relaxed stillness communicates she's now content. With the support of loose wrapping and a hand under her head, Maya yawns. Yawns are often a sign of tiredness, but this time, the yawn is a means of refocusing her attention. This lovely moment of mutual gaze is crucial.
Just look at that gaze. What's happening in her mind at this moment?
For Maya's healthy brain development. Maintaining this focus is hard work.
The seriousness of this little child.
Maya gives herself little breaks by blinking and looking away. And even at 5 days of age, you may be rewarded with a smile.
Good.
If that's not a social smile, what is? But here, I hope you got a good example of how this little baby was able to influence her parents' behavior as much as the parents, by supporting her, were influencing her. Both are learning from each other at that stage. The babies are learning, but the caregivers also learn her. As caregivers and babies learn to communicate and even motivate each other. And in fact, what looks like the effects of genes may really be the result of the way genes feedback on the environment. Now let's look at this study, the still face by my colleague Ed Tronick.
In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age.
You make a girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points.
Yeah.
The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, "Come on, why aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions. They turn away. They feel the stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So I think I missed the last part there. Will I just get it for you? Replay it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
But really, what I showed you that because it certainly highlights the importance of the caregiver's responsiveness and how the lack of connection can really have an impact on the little baby. But I also want to show how quickly this little baby could recover and regulate her emotions once the mother is present again and play resumes easily. Resilience helps children cope with change and adversity and experience more positive outcomes. I want to again show the child's capacity for resilience to really spring back. So really, not all stress is harmful in the child's life. Learning to cope with manageable threats is critical for the development of resilience. Challenges are a regular part of your child's lives, and allowing our children to fail enables them to bounce back from these tough times and handle whatever comes their way. And these happen throughout the day when the child has to experience manageable stress. So it may be a mistake to try to protect the child from all of these. But with the help of supportive adults, this positive stress can be growth promoting. They figure things out themselves on the playground with other kids. They learn from other kids, learn in different situations without a constant need to monitor. So over time, children become better able to cope with life's obstacles and hardships, both physically and mentally. The key issue for us is trusting in our child. And the best way for a child to learn coping skills is to help them thrive in a challenging world, is to give them the space to figure things out on their own. Trust in your child to figure it out on their own. Now, of course, scaffolding is important because that means providing support and structure to help the child learn new skills and develop independence through discovery. Let's look at this little boy learning how to buckle himself in.
Yeah, I think it might be flipped and there you go. That's the right way around. Yes, there you go.
No.
Good job. Oh, and this needs to go over your leg, not under your leg. There you go. Right, and you've almost got it. Flipped again sometime. There you go. Okay.
No. Good job.
Didn't you almost want to do it for him? And yet the delicate balance of allowing him to achieve it himself and still be there to scaffold it. But really, I think in general, the child can help us learn through their own unique experiences and outlook on life. So can the child continue to be a teacher? Can we learn about things such as empathy, patience, I think in that case, patience, living in the moment, resilience, curiosity, and the ability to see the world with fresh eyes? Is that what the child can teach us? Here's now a laboratory situation in which you find an 18-month-old child with the mother and with a stranger coming in. It happens to be Dr. Wernicke himself. But they're given no instruction. Just watch what happens.
Oh. Hello?
So what do you think happened there? Let's look at it again. Just imagine what's in the little child's mind. Remember now, there's no instruction given. The mother says nothing. The visitor says nothing. The child has to figure this out on their own.
Oh.
And look at that look, as if to say, is that what you wanted? Think of it. 18 months. About a few months before, this little child was taking their first step, yet walked confidently across the room in terms of their gross motor development. Fine motor, was able to pick and open up the closet. Understood the closet was a closet in which things could be placed. So the books could go into the closet. He had figured that out cognitively. But think of the sense of safety. Here we talk about safety. You might say a sense of security. That the mother clearly is a secure base. He could take the risk of approaching the stranger, approaching and opening up the closet. So secure attachment means the child can take risks, can go to the playground on their own and figure things out. There's a risk, of course, of failing, but also the risk of the possibility of success. But then the other thing, the sense that this child is showing us that was awareness of the needs of the other adult and the sense of empathy and sympathy. Can't this little child teach us? How often, I can speak for myself, pass by people on the street who need my support, or people I meet, and I fail to see them. The freshness of this little child's awareness of what's good in life, what's the right thing to do. So really, it seems, from this point of view, our job is to create a protected space of love, safety, and stability, where children can flourish, a secure base. It's not to shape our children's minds, but to let those minds explore and discover all the possibilities that the world allows. Now, and that's not, we need to be, these little infants need the attention to have their needs met. But as children grow, they may be better off with a good enough parent, one who lets them explore their independence and encounter struggle and disappointment. I mean, the fact is, if we're not always attuned, if we have other things to do, the child then is able to develop resilience. In fact, this means they grow up and encounter a world that will fail them many times. These later setbacks will not derail this child. The good enough parent gives the child the space to learn to effectively deal with the frustrations of reality. As Dr. Murty says, there are other things, family, neighbors, support. So I've emphasized the confidence and trust in the child. But nevertheless, as Dr. Murty points out, there's the family, friends, and neighbors who step in to help before the need is voiced. That is critical. But it also requires that the society, that we build tolerance for children in public spaces and create safe environments where lightly supervised kids can explore and play together. Lightly supervised kids can explore together. But as he says, we need a shift in culture and policies to ensure all parents and caregivers can thrive. Before I end, I'll just end with my colleague, Susan Nicholson, introducing an approach we use called the Newborn Behavioral Observation System, which we developed to help parents get to know and communicate with their newborn. Here it is.
The Newborn Behavioural Observations System is a very simple but really quite powerful way for clinicians from a whole array of different backgrounds and settings, workplace settings, to help parents with their very new baby and up to the age of 3 months to get to know their baby well. We're talking about us clinicians helping parents really start to notice the nuances of baby behaviour. The slight shifts in the baby's state from, say, deep sleep to light sleep to doziness to quiet alert, fussiness and active crying, helping them read the baby's state and be able to appropriately respond. So in a way that will build parents' confidence. It will also likely build the relationship between you as a clinician and the family. And that's always important when we're working with vulnerable families. But I would argue that the NBO is useful for just ordinary everyday families. I think it's very unlikely that there will be a family who would get nothing out of spending 15 minutes with you as a clinician, just with you together, observing their baby and directly interacting with the baby as a person, responding to what the baby's saying in the moment, and learning what makes a difference to their baby if they're upset, what helps them settle if they've been unsettled or fussy, and what gives their baby some pleasure or helps their baby to stay calm, then to open their eyes and be ready to be curious about their social world. I think that's the real reward of the newborn behavioural observation system.
I'd end now with a poem by Cahill Gibran, which I think captures the main point I hope was able to communicate with you on children. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday." Before I say goodbye, I'd just like to pay tribute to some of the people who have influenced my life and all our lives as researchers. Daniel Stern on the top left, the great psychoanalyst. Heidli Salz, who humanized the world of the premature infant in the NICU. Peter Wolf helped see that newborn babies were organized, could communicate to the world. Bob Endy, who taught us about the emotional life of the child, even in the first months of life. Catherine Bernard introduced these concepts to new nurses. Colin Trevart, University of Edinburgh, who talked about the baby as a storyteller. And we are part of that first baby's story. Barry Brazelton himself, down on the left, who really has, if you like, shaped my thinking and much of our thinking about the dignity of babies, the importance of accepting babies, respecting babies, and embracing their differences. Jerome Brunner, who stimulated it all by saying babies came into the world with so much to offer. And finally, Erik Erikson, who said the major challenge we have is to create a sense of trust, to allow the babies to develop and children develop a sense of trust. So with that, I rushed it a bit, I'm afraid, I confess, but I hope you were able to stay with it. And thank you, and may you continue many, many moments of joy with your children. Thanks very much.
Oh, Kevin, thank you so much. What a wonderful and affirming and encouraging talk. We really are so grateful to have you with us this evening. We have a few questions, if you don't mind.
Yes.
That would be wonderful. And yes, thank you. And a couple more coming in here. Kevin, it's clear that part of this is about parents finding support and affirmation in community with each other.
Right.
And so how do you recommend that we go about creating spaces in the world, at the Discovery Museum, in other places where we gather with our children, where we can how can we be better about making parenting easier as a community of parents and caregivers coming together?
Well, well, if I can take the museum as an example, I've always felt going in there with my grandchildren a sense of welcome, a sense of warmth. And I think the delicate thing that all the people in the museum have shown me is they can really scaffold without taking over from the child. I think for us as parents, I've always found that a challenge to pull back.
Yes.
Like the little child trying to get the buckle, to almost go in there and buckle it up for him.
Yeah.
And the delicate thing for a parent visiting a museum or visiting any space with their child is to be able to stand back, be at the child's shoulder if necessary, but not take over the child's play, not take ownership of it. The child has to have ownership and must be allowed to mess up, fail, make a mess of things, but still must have the courage to experiment, go forward, and test things out. And I think that can happen in a museum or in any setting. I mean, people do talk about free-range parenting. That's all only possible if there's a sense of community there where everybody is on the same sort of wavelength, so to speak. There's a safe space. And it takes place, you'll see it in some communities, obviously more traditional communities, where children feel they can all play with each other and parents feel confident that children are there and they're going to play with, they're going to have fights, of course, disagreements, but there will be still the turn-taking, joint problem solving, that is should be owned by the child. And I think that's what I think I wanted to say above all. Clearly, it's vital that we give the child every opportunity to interact with us, that they have to feel we have to enjoy every moment with them, thankfully,
Yes.
the pleasure. But we must allow the child to go their own way with certain things, particularly in the area of problem solving, yes.
And maybe some of the forgiveness that we offer children
Oh, God.
in failure, right? Trying, testing ideas, we should offer ourselves.
Marie,
Yes.
I meant to say that I think the big thing is, the wonderful thing about babies that I've learned is they forgive us. And all they want is, I hope he's learned a bit next time he comes. And I think for us, it's that we can come back and learn. So we can forgive ourselves too for making a mess of things. So I think overall compassion, as you said, Marie, both for us towards the baby, because the children show to us, if we learn from the mistake, they welcome us back and the relationship is really patched up again and we move forward.
Oh, that's wonderful. We have a question from a grandparent. So what is the best way for grandparents to support the parents, particularly when parenting techniques and trends are different than what worked in a prior go round?
That's all right. I mean, we take with us who we are, of course. And as a grandparent myself, I hope I can be respectful that this is a new era, a new time. Certainly there are the intergenerational memories that I'd like to think about, rituals that families have, etc. But when it comes to day, I think the best thing is just to be at their sides and to give them time off when they need it, to be there, if you like. But I think that advising is a tricky thing. And I must say, I try to avoid that. I try to, if I could be, and I wish my children could say that. Do I listen to them all? I hope I can just listen, sympathize, and maybe reframe a question. But certainly I try to avoid giving advice. I think I feel I have no right to give advice to anybody, my child or anybody. So for a grandparent, I feel it's standing back, being at their side, full of human sympathy, full of love, both for the parents themselves and, of course, for the grandchild. But given the parents respite care, it can be a real plus, I think, nowadays. And I think, as I said, that where there is that intergenerational support, that's such a fortunate child. And if I could say that grandparent, be sure that little child knows all your stories too, that that they get a sense of where they came from, the stories of the past.
Oh, that's wonderful. We have a question of what does your talk and your advice for us mean for using a device like a phone while sitting with your baby?
Well, I mean, I didn't want to say say it was, all I wanted to say is sometimes people are on the phone. And as I said in the past, I was very unsympathetic. I would say, why aren't you playing with your child? But in fact, I sat at the playground only last week and a woman spent all the time just reading her I think she was correcting papers. And the children were out on the climbing structure, were all over the place. And yet I could see they were learning from each other. They were having the time of their life. And it would have been unnecessary and inappropriate if she was there hovering over them, watching, advising them, telling what to do. In fact, if in fact they were unsafe, then of course she would have to be there. But by and large, I feel a great sense of pulling back. As I said, I wouldn't let the children go on the phone or use the phone. No, I would never do that. Of course, I think that's a really important issue of not getting children being on the iPhone, etc. No, not at all. But I said there's sometimes the parent might be making calls and can make calls with a certain amount of, I think, ease in spirit if the child is playing around and they're not as I said, having a timeout for themselves. There may be something critical for the parent to do, and they shouldn't feel guilty about that, and should be ready to forgive themselves. I wasn't advocating that going around sharing your iPhone with the child. No, definitely not. Absolutely not. No.
What about parents who have more than one child?
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine that particularly in these times of heightened stress, that leads to a much more intense and sort of fraught experience as a parent. Any advice for folks that are balancing the needs of children of different ages or multiple children that are all needing things at the same time?
I mean, the only thing I can say for the ears and eyes is nothing really. I can't really advise, but acknowledging, trying to discover what's different about them. What are the individual needs? What's the different makeup they have, and how they do get on together. And I suppose the choreographing or the scaffolding one can do there is trying to find out what works best for either or, but acknowledging how different they are, and yet facilitating any sort of interplay between them will be key, because I think siblings are the most undervalued players in this whole drama of life. And in fact, children spend most of the time with each other, with their siblings, than they do with us as parents. And the amount they can learn in terms of turn taking, forgiveness, all these things we spoke of earlier take place actually between siblings and friends. And I think that's one of the areas I'd love to see more. The fact is, it's not all on our shoulders. There's a whole world out there. And for much of human history, the fact that it's hard for us because for much of human history, it was always out there in the community. Granddads, uncles, aunts, everybody. And in fact, children just hung around more than were the focus of everybody's attention. We tend to make the child the center of all of our attention. That's not to say that the goal is to really have a loving, enjoyable, mutually satisfying relationship with our children. That's key. But I'm just saying there are times when we need to let them discover the world and even fail, make a mess of things, and take risks. And without a sense of security, of course, they won't be able to do that. But if they feel they're loved, valued, then of course they can toddle out into that world and make things happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm inclined, that was such a wonderful potential wrap up. I'm inclined to stop there, but I think I will ask you one more question because we have so many coming in right now via the chat, Kevin, and with our remaining 2 minutes. Let me see here. We've been asked for some advice on parenting when one child has medical complexities or requires more, and thoughts on how to preserve the balance, and also, I'm sure, attend an even deeper level of parental stress and strain.
I mean, there's no doubt that's a key issue. I wish I could be more helpful. So all I can say is that is a more demanding challenge than a child who's both having two healthy children. How you draw in the child to a full understanding of what's happening. Certainly, there's got to be a great openness about the condition of the child and how the child really can appreciate, understand that. There's nothing I can really say that would be helpful, except the embracing the difference between them. And I think that's a challenge that would only be possible if I were to see the child and parents be there together to see how it's working. It's almost, that is such a unusual work in progress. All I can say is nothing but respect, understanding, observation, and listening can solve it. And as I said, I did want to make the big case that I feel that I could give advice, but I think I feel one thing I learned from Mary Brazelton is the minute you give advice, you close the door to the search parents are going through themselves and trying to understand this better. And maybe a long conversation might work better than an easy answer. And I'd love to talk to those parents at length to hear more about what the issues are, how it works, what doesn't work with the two children in that case. I mean, that's always the delicate thing about not even wish I was looking at their eyes, but not being there with the child, because I feel going to the child with, as Arietta Slade, with a sense of curiosity. Who is this child? What's in their mind? Trying to access their mindset means it needs a lot of time listening, looking and without sort of making any judgments.
Which is a good disposition for any parent, yes.
I think so. I think
Yes,
so. And
yeah.
for anybody with a parent, I think
Yes.
we've always felt in our work, it's got to be totally non-judgmental, but a sense of cultural humility, a sense of realizing that how could we know if it's a culture other than our own? All we can do there is listen. But it's, every family has their own culture. And it's vital for us to learn, go in almost as anthropologists, to look, listen, but without intervening until the moment comes if we're invited.
That's wonderful. Well, we have such a wonderful community tonight of parents, caregivers, grandparents, expectant parents, and perhaps this is a call to action for all of us to come together and lift each other up in ways both small and large as we go through life, recognizing that all of the proverbial boats rise with the tide, right? And as we can find a place to be forgiving of ourselves and be forgiving of the parents and families around us as we go through life, maybe we can make a small dent in this this epidemic of stress and strain. Kevin, thank you so much for your time, your grace, and your wisdom this evening.
Marie, it's really an honor. I mean, I feel I always, anybody who's on this call could have given the same talk. I'm just repeating what other parents have told me, what children have told me, in a way, just sharing it again. And that I feel just honored to be here. And here as a learner and as somebody who just like to know more about all these children. But thanks so much for inviting me.
We love that about you, Kevin. Thank you very
very
much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening and for being part of our speaker series this year. We're incredibly grateful for your support and your attention and for learning with us. And we look forward to seeing you next time. All the best. Good night.
Thanks, Marie. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Good night, Kevin.
Thank you. Oh.